Hello, everyone. Just doing a sound test. Just going to start in 1 second. Just doing. Can anyone can hear me? Just want to be sure that. Just doing. Okay. Thank you so much, Suresh. To confirm that you can see the presentation and you can hear me. Thank you so much. Okay. Saying that, let's get started with the presentation, everyone. And now I want to apologize a little bit for my voice. I have been sick with asthma the last few weeks, and I have a little bit issues with my voice in the past couple of days. This session today is to talk about a topic that I love it, called logging or no logging. That's the question. This is basically my first topic that I start blogging about Oracle, and also the first white paper I wrote about it. Just to talk a little bit about myself, Francisco Munoz Alvarez. I'm an Oracle ACE director, Oracle ACE since the year 2008, Oracle ACE director since the year 2009. I have had the privilege to participate in the first team to introduce Oracle to Latin America a long time ago. Has also the privilege to be the first Oracle DBA master with the version 7 from Latin America. That was also a long time ago. And I had the privilege to participate and be member of the beta testing on many versions of Oracle since version 7, and also Oracle VM. I also ambassador or spokesperson for IOC for Latin America and Asia Pacific. I was the president of Latin American Oracle user group community until a year ago. Now I am the president of the APAC IOC, the umbrella user group for the APAC. Also the Australian Independent Oracle User Group, Chilean Oracle User Group, and New Zealand Oracle User Group. I had the privilege to win also Oracle Excellence Award and also become the 2010 Oracle ACE Director of the Year by Oracle Magazine. My blog that you can take a look is called oraclenz.com, and you have my email. My Twitter is FCOMunoz. And I'm now member of the Red Stack family. And I just started a couple weeks back as the Director of Innovation for Red Stack Technology. In the center bottom, you also see just one question. Is my screen sharing properly? Everyone can see the screen of myself? Basically doing my introduction with my name, some extra information about myself. Oh, looks like it's not being shared properly. Sorry about that. Just going to fix that. Okay, yes, looks like now it's sharing the proper one. Yes, and the book you see in the middle called Oracle Database 12C Backup and Recovery Survival Guide is the book that I have written when I was member of the beta testing on Oracle 12c, and is one of the few, if not the only book I know, they have a full chapter dedicated for this topic, to logging and NoLogging. And I had the privilege and the honor to have as my technical reviewer of this chapter a good friend of mine, Tom Kite. This in the next page is basically the ACE Director of the Year award that I got from Oracle Magazine, Oracle Excellence Award. And basically we have the screen just to introduce myself a little bit more deeply and properly, because a lot of people all the time approach me, Francisco, where the heck are you from? You have a strange accent. You're president of the Chilean Oracle user group. You're president of New Zealand Oracle user group. I know you live in the States, but where are you from? To answer that question, I created this small map that's the easy way to introduce myself. Basically, I born in Chile some time ago, let's say. Then I moved to Brazil when I was 3 years old and lived in Brazil for 19 years. After that, I moved back to Chile when I lived for another 3 years, and I got married. Accidents happen, some people says. After that, I moved to United States, where I lived for almost 10 years. And then I moved to New Zealand in the other side of the world, where I lived for 7 years. And now I'm living in Gold Coast in Australia for almost 2 years and a half. A lot of people ask me why you move so much. The funny answer would be, if you screw up in one side of the world, the easy solution is just move to the other side of the world and can start over again. No, but that's a joke. And basically, the main thing I can tell with all these changes is make your life a little bit more complicated and making you lose a little bit of your own identity. Let's split off a little bit better on that. Even I born in Chile, but most of my young age was lived in Brazil, where I lived from 3 years old to 22. That means all my education in the school basically was done in Brazil. That transformed me as basically Portuguese on my first language. But doesn't matter, I speak Portuguese as a native, and everybody in Brazil know that I was from Chile. They automatically put me the stereotype or nickname of the Chilean guy, the Zamorano. That was a famous soccer player and things like that. And they always call me that way. When I moved from Brazil to Chile, was no way that anyone in Chile believed I was Chilean because of my strong Portuguese accent. And they automatically call me the Garotinho, Pelé, and things like that. Apologize. When I moved to United States, I even lost my identity even deeper, because what's happened there, if anyone that speaks Spanish becomes automatically, what? The Mexican. And everybody start to stereotype and call me, hey, Mexican, come here. After I moved to New Zealand, everybody over there think I was Indian. Was on many occasions I was having dinner with my family, and a Indian guy or woman approached me and started speaking in Hindi. And I need to tell them, I'm so sorry, I don't speak Hindi. And they tell me, are you not Indian? I said, no, I'm not Indian. Are you sure? How about your dad? And when I tell them no one of my family are Indian, they tell me, are you sure? What do you think about the milk? Someone around your mom was Indian. And that was happened a lot. But since I moved to Australia, the things had changed. And I was not stereotyped yet until last week that I was seeing a doctor that was an Indian doctor, and he also started speaking with me in Hindi. Well, looks like the cycle is starting all over again. A little bit about myself to make you understand crazy. Okay, let's talk about it today. Let's talk about reader generation and about logging or no logging. That's the question. Sorry. As you see in the screen right now, reader generation is the Oracle recovery mechanism. An instance will not when it crashes and will not start in a consistent state. By other side, excessive reader generation is the result of excessive work in the database. And this is something that we can take a look, and as DBAs or developers, we need to take focus to avoid cause unnecessary stress to the database. Basically, no logging operator read records into read log files. Only a notification that was made is registered, but not the change. That a lot of people properly and ask, Francisco means it won't log in at all. If that's the case, why I'm doing some no login operations and I still seeing some redo being generated? Yes, you will see some redo being generated in the background exactly because what I was just explaining. Because when no login operations, that no login operations need to be recorded, logged in the read log files to alert Oracle that happens. But the information that was changed in the background will not be there. That's why, consequently, such operations are very helpful options to reduce the amount of redo to be generated in a transaction, which might make the transaction to run faster and also reduce unnecessary stress in the database. But once again, as I always mention in this topic, no login operations also will affect the recoverability of your database. We will talk a little bit more in detail in a moment. You need to always to understand and remember that read crucial part of Oracle recovery mechanism. And that focus in the initial part of this session. Make you understand the difference login and no login operations. Let you know time you do a no login operation in a database, please before and after, just to allow you to have a rollback plan, and also you need to have a backup after because no login operations that were done in the meantime are not read logs files, consequently cannot be restored from the archive logs. A tip, a very important rule with respect with data is to yourself into a recoverable situation. The importance of this guideline does not mean that you can never use the time savings or performance enhancements. That is something that I repeat, and you will see basically in almost all my sessions that my rule number one as a DBA, as an Oracle professional, is to never put yourself in an unrecoverable situation. The moment you put yourself, you are in trouble, and your career is also in trouble. Remember words, and everybody knows what's happened to each other. And this can very seriously affect how the projections of your career as a DBA, and also will you very famous with your co-workers and with your boss. A lot of people ask in the background, read log, what's read? The long answer you see is what you see in the screen right now. I prefer to go to a short answer, easy to understand and absorb. Redo is equal transactions. Talking about that transactions is one of the most important mechanisms that make Oracle different from the other databases is how how properly we can recover our database and how we can protect the integrity of the information on it. This is what makes Oracle different from all the other technologies available in the market. To make that level of protection efficient, Oracle needs to flash the information from memory to disk as soon as possible to protect us in case of any incident. That's what we're going to see right now. We will know that the redo are flashed from log buffer by the log writer to disk when a user issue a commit, when a log buffer is 1/3 full, when the amount of redo entries is 1 megabyte or higher, every 3 seconds, or when a database checkpoint takes place. The redo entries are written before the checkpoint to ensure recoverability. This do not mean that all these conditions need to be satisfied to flash information from memory to disk. Is when the first one of these happens. That means in the worst case scenario, if my database is completely idle, Oracle will try to flash all information from memory to disk every 3 seconds. The main purpose of redo generation is to ensure recoverability. This is the reason why Oracle does not give the developer a lot of generation. If the instance crashes, then all the changes within the SGA will be lost. Oracle will then use the redo entries in the online redo files to bring database to a consistent state. That another thing you need to understand about that is also about how redo generation can seriously affect performance. You need to understand that all the transactions that happen in your database are saved in the read log files. That means every time one read log file is full, they will automatically switch to the next one, and so on. Every switch happens, a checkpoint is triggered too, and audio from memory to this. And if you having too much action happening, too much bursts, and your read log files are you have too frequent log switch can cause a serious effect, a performance degradation effect to your database. That's something also is good to you to take a look on. Let's talk more versus NoLogging. Despite the importance of redo log entries, Oracle's ability to limit redo generation on tables, table spaces, indexes, and so on, and in a mode called NoLogging mode. They'd be careful because NoLogging will affect the recoverability of a database, and before to limit the redo generation, it's important to be clear that do not misunderstand that NoLogging is the way out. NoLogging will only can be used in specific situations, and we will take a deeper look on it. Another interesting point, NoLogging is designed to handle bulking of data, which can be easily reproduced. Update and delete operation will always. Why? Because they generate undos in the second point. Anytime undo is generated in the database, also generated. Also, it's very important that should not be disabled on a primary database if you're using Oracle's Guard, as per example. Because remember that if you have a standby database, DataGuard will update and the data in base by transporting the archive logs from your source primary database to the standby, and then applying all the transaction that was registered in that archive log to the standby database. If you run NoLogging operations on that information or the transaction itself happen, what data changed, what data was inserted, updated, deleted, and so on, would not be included in the archive logs. So on, not be reproduced in this standby. Do it that Oracle have in the archive logs the information that which blocks were modified with NoLogging operations. For security purpose and integrity, Oracle will mark that blocks on the standby as corrupt. We will see an example a little bit later. If you have a standby database, protect yourself and do not allow your primary database to run NoLogging operations. To do that, please place your primary database with forced login mode. That means independently are placing NoLogging or NoLogging operations are executed in the primary, they will always run as in. Another note, using forced login in the initialization parameter file in a multi-tenant container database, we always place all the pluggable databases using that CDB into forced login mode. Another interesting is that any change to the database dictionary will always cause a redo generation. This will happen to protect the data dictionary integrity. As per example, if Oracle allocates a space above the high water mark for a table and the system fails the insert append command, the Oracle will need data dictionary change that was made. There will be a redo generated, but it's only to protect the data dictionary, not your new inserted data. Oracle will undo the space allocation if it fails, and your newly inserted data will also disappear. Then that direct append, sorry, one second. Sorry. That's very important to know that, as I mentioned before, that any operation generating undo will always generate redo. Is the same here. Any operation that do a change it to the data dictionary, any DDLs, we always generate redo, just to tell what's happening in the background. NoLogging is unnecessary for direct path databases on no archive log mode. We will see about that. Will do that. Another thing that a lot of people ask me is what that about of the high water mark and why direct path inserts are faster and generate less redo and consequently less stress to a database than a normal insert. I will give you just one example to explore a little bit further. Imagine your table is like a Swiss cheese. You have many small holes in the cheese. That holes are empty blocks in your table. When you insert, Oracle will try to out the data in that box that you have in the table. It's like a little kid playing with that wooden toys that you have a star, square, and circle holes, and then you take the circle one, you need to put in the circle hole, the star one in the star, and so on. But then Oracle start playing with that, and that is a square block, try to the circle, do not fit, try to all the holes to try to make it fit, do not fit. Then when that happens, basically, or the high water mark is, and we automatically extend the table, giving more extra space. And now that's all empty, can be inserted. And that will happen basically for each data that will go to that process, make it stressful. If you do a direct path insert, Oracle will automatically ignore that behavior and basically will go straightly to the high water mark, extend the table, and all the data you doing with the direct path insert will be in the high water mark, making a lot don't lose any necessary time and make the things faster. That's just one example to make the things a little clearer. Operations involving data that could not be easily reproduced should always be done in logging mode, because if not, you cannot easily recover that using NoLogging. That's why I said in the start of the session, operations are recommended duplicate operations. That means data that can easily recover from other sources if necessary. NoLogging does not apply to normal commands such as update, delete, and insert operations. NoLogging will work during specific situations only, but subsequent DML operations over the data will always generate DML operation. Normal insert, update, and delete will always generate logging. If the logging or NoLogging clause is not specified when creating a table, partitioning, or index, the default logging attribute will come from the database, if not from the table space where that object will reside. This is the table I was talking about. And if you have a table in logging mode, you do append log mode, reader will be generated. Now, if I place that table in NoLogging mode and I do the insert append in archive log mode, no reader will be generated. If I have my table in logging, I just do a normal insert database in archive log mode to be generated, because normal delete and update commands is always generated reader. The same example, if I place the table and do a normal insert, they will. Now, if my data archive log mode, did I do an insert, there will no reader will be generated. They will automatically work as NoLogging. That's why the table is NoLogging. NoLogging will be generated when. But if I do a normal insert in the last two example mode, doesn't matter if it is my table is in mode generated. Once again, normal insert, updates, and delete commands always will generate reader. In the insert mode append, it isn't appended really. You are doing a direct path operation they will do, hence reducing redo, bypass redo when the NoLogging. Point of why the direct path basically do not read too much redo or almost no redo because they bypass undo. Undo is generated, regenerated. Some frequent questions that when speaking in conferences around the world, and also on my blog, and also when I'm a little bit involved in some forums online regarding this topic is, does creating a table with the NoLogging option is no generation of redo ever? Or just that the operation has no redo generation, that DML down the road? That's the most frequent one because the people to use it, and when NoLogging will really happen. Another one is, how and when can the NoLogging option be employed? Another frequent question that I guess, why I have redo generation during an online backup? Remember, online backup are not the normal ones that you do hot backups that are done with using RMAN. Online backup is when you place your database on backup mode and then you do the backup underground of the database files. Or a lot of people use it right now, online backups, by placing your database in backup mode and do snapshots in the background using storage backup level. Why Oracle generates redo and undo for DML is another question they get all the time. Why Oracle generate? I already said that. Sorry. Does temporary table? That's another good one. Can read disable during Materialized view refreshes? Why my table on NoLogging is still generating redo? Can table redefinition be used with NoLogging? That's another get all the time. Now it's time to check the answers. But before I continue, I just want to check with everyone if in slide that is the answers, just after some the questions that I had, just to ensure that everybody can see the proper slide that I have at the moment. Can anyone confirm, please? Just to avoid, I'm going to go and change the sharing screen one more time. Okay, now everybody should be in the answer page. Good. Then, okay. Let's give the answers now to the questions that I just give to everyone. Why I have excessive reader generation during online? I can tell you that you do not have reader generation during the online backup. Basically, what you have is a change of behavior on how the redo is generated. When your database is working in the normal environment without being in online backup, only the vectors change it on memory are reading to disk. When you place your database in backup mode, consequently being in online backup mode, what's happening now to protect itself, Oracle will not dump from memory to disk only they will basically dump that were modified, not only the vectors. And that gives the sensation that is more redo being generated in the background, but that's not the case. Remember that when you place your database on backup mode, you basically freeze the data headers with the current SCN, but the information in the files keeps changing, but the header gets frozen. Why Oracle undo for DML? When you issue an insert, an update, or a delete, Oracle actually makes the change to the data blocks that contain the affected data, even though you have not issued a comment yet. To ensure Oracle do that to ensure the database integrity. And for that, Oracle must write the information necessary to reverse the change, basically the undo, into the log to handle transaction failure or rollback. Recovery from me ensured by rewriting the information necessary to replay the database change, that's the redo is used for, into the log. So undo and redo information logically must be reading in the transaction log of the RDMS to ensure the integrity of the data and the recoverability. Does temporary tables generate redo? That's another question I had all the time. 12C, the amount of log generation for those should be approximately of the normal log generation for normal tables. However, you must consider that inset requires only a small amount of undo, whereas a delete requires a small amount of redo data. If you tend to insert data into temporary tables, and if you don't delete the data when you are done, the relative log generation rate may be much lower for temporary tables than 50% of the log generation tables. That was before 12. Now, after 12c, temporary tables record their undo into temporary table space, so they remove all the redo. That means it's a lot more redo efficient, the temporary tables on 12c. Note that temp files are always set to the NoLogging mode, but any non-directives on them, such as insert, update, and delete, will generate. They do not generate undo. And just double checking it is in the page 32. I don't know why my small iPad that I have on my side is not still showing me in the page 31. Question I have all the time, can redo generation be disabled during Materialized view refresh? Basically, I can tell you that redo cannot be disabled during a Materialized view refresh, but you can reduce the amount of redo being generated during a complete refresh by setting the atomic underscore refresh equal false in the dbms underscore mview dot refresh option. That is the only way you can reduce. The complete refresh will use a truncate plus insert slash append command to do the, and this can skip all undo, and if not most of it. Why my table NoLogging mode still generating redo? That's another common question. The NoLogging attributes tell the Oracle that the operation being performed does not need to be recoverable into the event of a failure. In this case, Oracle will generate a minimum number of redo entries in order to protect the data dictionary integrity, and the operation will probably run faster. Oracle is relying on the user to recover the data manually in the event of a media failure. Important to note that just because an index or table logging mode does not mean that redo is being completely stopping for the index. The NoLogging, in some situations, one of the valid comments for NoLogging, but not after that. Can table redefinition be done? Table redefinition cannot be done in NoLogging mode. Here is that direct path operations that basically will bypass redo generation if you use NoLogging. Some example is alter table merge partition, modify partition, alter indexing, that you have the split partition, rebuild partition. And this is a small example of operations that will work in NoLogging. Let's take a deeper look on that. I will just tell you that the OP was introduced in Oracle 7, and the NoLogging operations were introduced in version 8 of Oracle. More direct path operations that will work when option mode, using SQL, get load insert using append hint, create table as select, CTS, create index, alter table move partition, alter table split partition, alter table add partition if hash partition is being used. This is one example how I can place index in NoLogging mode and then use the output to rebuild the index instead of create it again. This will make it faster because we'll be in operation. Plus, remember that after rebuild your index in login mode again, please. Here's another example to make this point more clear. I'm creating table underscore test in NoLogging mode, normal insert, a normal update, a normal delete. These three operations I'm doing over that table, doesn't matter. The table is in NoLogging mode. They will always generate redo. In the other side, if I do a command such as insert append over that table that I just created in NoLogging, then redo log will be avoided or reduced. Let's do an example, a scenario of redo generation when in non-archive mode. Let's see that in real life. I'm creating create table test one as select star objects where row num equals 0. Basically, a table test one, no rows. Then I set the auto tracing statistics, did a normal insert from our data from the DBA objects to that newly created table test one. You can see that 88,000 records were inserted and basically 11.5 megabytes of redo log was generated. In the other side, is mode, and I just do, and over that table, I insert append instead of a normal insert. I'm insert exactly the same number of rows that was before. You can see that now instead of 11 megabytes of redo, only 36 kilobytes of redo was generated. You can see that some redo was generated, a little one, 36 kilobytes, sorry. And that was just the information that was added to the read log files to tell the Oracle that the NoLogging operation happened on that table. That's it. But the data, the 11.5 megabytes of data is not there. You can see the difference. A tip is you never need to set NoLogging in the no-log mode. Everything that redo will skip redo already by default. NoLogging doesn't apply in the no archive log mode. It does not change its behavior at all. Just the comments that you are using in the background will determine if it's redo or not redo will be generated in the background, basically if they are direct path operations. To activate the alter command, you will need to add the NoLogging clause after the end of the alter table command, as you can see in the screen. Just be careful that if you hit table command, not apply. If you put the NoLogging at the end of the created, you are not placing that table. You are creating an alias to that table. This next, that's more detail. Two tables. To the table NoLogging test 2 with NoLogging after the name of the table as supposed to be, and the other one will be the test 3 will be created with NoLogging option at the end of the command, like for alter table, alter index, and so on. Now, if I do a select in the user tables, I can see then the table test 2 will not generate logging, but I can see that the table 3 will generate logging because the NoLogging that I place in the end is only being created as an alias to the table, is not placed in that table in NoLogging mode. Tips when logging is in effect, means when not using NoLogging. A few tips to try to help you to make your database generate a little bit of less redo, but without affecting recoverability of your database. While instead to using online backups, use tools such as RMAN and will not affect the behavior of your redo generation when doing the backups. That's the tip number one when possible for backups. For book inserts, I recommend you, sorry, I use the term section to mean loading a large percentage of existing data in our object. To reduce or eliminate the amount of reduced data load, you need first to disable all indexes associated with that object, that table, when making the variable, and before the load, and then after the load of that indexes. Basically, do your using insert append, but before that, place the index unusable to nothing happen to the index. Do it into the table, and after you finish, alter index, do a rebuild to make that index usable once again. Please, if it's ensure about be sure that the parameter is keep unusable indexes are set to true in your database, because if it's not set and you have an index in unusable right there, read a table data that will touch that index that's unusable, your query will fail. That to ensure that it's keep unusable is set as true. Sure that we're on the correct page. When doing book deletes, first create the new table with the same structure as the table you want to do a book delete from, and with only the rows that you want to keep. As the follow example, I will do a create table, new table. I'll select from the old table, and just in the where conditions, I will tell that to create the new table only with the data I want to keep. They will basically not bring to that table the data you want to be deleted. After that, create the new indexes in the new table as they exist in the old table. Create the constraints, grants, and so on. Drop the original table, and then rename the new table to the original name. If the data main is so small compared with the quantity of data that's already there, to do the step number 1 here, create the template, the data you want to keep, then truncate the original table. Sorry, the truncate to not generate either. Then disable all constraints in the original table. Insert the data from the temporary table back to the original table using an insert append. Then commit your changes, enable the constraints to the original table again, and then drop the temporary table you created in step 1. To book update, it's important you first to disable constraints, make all indexes associated with the columns to be update unusable. For example, using alter index, index name unusable. Run the update into the table, commit the update, and then do rebuild of the index. And finally, enable all constraints. When you do a book update like this, the only benefit you will have is save time and resources that you're using to maintain the indexes. You can do nothing else with the update itself. But if you basically going to update most of the data existing on the table, you can basically create a new table using the basically create a new table using the from the original table and do the update in the select that's implicit in the CTAS as the example number 1. Then you create the indexes. They come from number 1, the original table, create the grants, constraints, and so on the new table, drop the original table, and then rename it to be original. Scenario number 2. Let's do another demo now to show that doing the things the easy way is the best way. This basically will be my tips to developers and also for DBA to help them to simple and easy way as possible. Let me just double check that we are in the correct page. I will once. In this tip for developers, we will first create a table again, now called test 4, using create table, test 4 as select owners, object name, object type from DBA objects. Then we are going to set auto tracing and statistics. Then I will do a normal insert, just using the insert command, and will be inserted from the DBA objects 88,000 rows. You can see basically that we generate 4.6 megabytes of redo, just a normal insert. We are not talking here about NoLogging, just redo generation. This is a normal insert. Now, let's compare, generally do this simple insert. And itself will normally create a cursor to do the insert. And basically we'll insert record per record to the database. Note that the commit of the data is being done at the end after all the inserts. If you do that 1,000 rows this way, do you think there will have any difference when we just insert all at once using a normal insert as the simple way? Yes, applications that instead of 4.6 megabytes of redo that was generating the simple insert, using a PL SQL cursor right here, will generate 26.7 megabytes of redo, a lot more. And it gets even worse if instead to do the commit at the end after the inserts, if you do the commit after each insert, the amount of redo generated will be almost 5. That's a lot of redo thing. Do you want more tips? Another tip that is good to play is playing with sequences on memory. Let's take an example right here. Take a sequence 2, keeping a cache. Then I will sequence 20, keeping 20 sequence on cache. And then I will create sequence 1,000, keeping sequence cache. If I'm doing that and I run the next val, you will see basically the results be dramatically in redo generation. Let's see this in practice. I create the sequence 2, I create the sequence 1,000, then I did the test 2 sequence using the sex2 next val, and again for the 20, again for the 1,000. And when I did all that, I was able to see that if I cache 2, I generate gigabytes of redo. Sorry. When I cache 20 sequences of memory, I generate 4.4 megabytes of redo. And when I cache 1,000 sequence memory, I only generate 1.4 megabytes of redo. That means caching sequence of memory, as much you can cache there, will help you reducing redo. Okay, let's go to now tips for NoLogging. When NoLogging, saw some examples when is in login mode. Now some same suggestions when in NoLogging is in effect. For direct path inserts, always use insert appends. Always. One example of the command is doing an insert up to test 1, select star from DBA object. That's example of a normal command. as I mentioned before, in direct path inserts, we always bypass be written after the high water mark, and a lot with the database. If I do an example now with direct paths, let's take a look at an example. We will basically, oops, I just lost myself where I was. Just looking right here. Oh, I was, for some reason, I'm trying to go backwards. Sorry about that. Trying to do basically, there we go. Let's create a table, create T with NoLogging. Then we are going to create a PL SQL that will insert data on that table. And we will check from the $v stat name in $my stats how much redo was generated for that transaction. And we can see that we have 2.2 megabytes. Let me just ensure that we are in the correct screen again. You can see that the previous insert was done using normal inserts. That's why 2.2 megabytes was generated of redo. Now we'll do the same, use exactly the same PL SQL, same cursor, but instead of a normal insert, I'll be using insert append. Then we will see that only 10 points was generated of redo. That's a big difference when you compare amount of redo generated with a normal insert with insert append when logging. You can see that the normal insert that used 2.2 megabytes versus 7.4 kilobytes. This is one example if I need to do a book insert. Sorry. I will set, if I need to do a database and I want to take advantage, the first thing I will do will be place the table in NoLogging mode. I was just saying that I set that table, my table in logging. Then I will set our indexes associated with that object as unusable. Then I will do the insert append on that table, I'll do the book insert. Then I will do the rebuild of the indexes associated with that table in NoLogging mode. I will do the outer index name rebuild NoLogging. After that's completed, then I will place my table again in logging mode, and then I will place my index now back in logging mode. And finally in step 7, I will back up the data. Always do a backup after any NoLogging operation. I recommend before and after. Book delete, if I need to do a book delete, first I will create a new table that will hold the data I want to keep using, but we'll create that table on NoLogging. Then I will indexes on the new table option. Then I will create all constraints, grants, and so on original table. Rename the new table as the original one. Then place the table and our indexes to the logging mode, back to logging mode, and then I will do a backup of the data. Again, if the number is very small compared with the original number of rows in the table, I will follow step 1 or 2 of the previous slide, creating the table, select using the NoLogging. And then I will disable all the constraints in the original table. That will truncate the original table. All the indexes related to the original table unusable and in NoLogging mode. Place the table in the original table in NoLogging mode, and then do a insert append from my staging table that will create this data for the back to the original table. Do a commit. Our indexes using the NoLogging option, and that were disabled in step 3. Place the original table and our indexes in logging mode. Then do the backup of the data and drop the holding table. And basically the same will be with the bulk update. The bulk update will create a temporary table with no logging and doing the update in the select clause. Then I will create the holding table as the exit table, specifying no logging on it. Then create all constraints, grants, and so on. Drop the original table, rename the holding table to the original name, alter the table and our related indexes to the logging mode, and do a backup of the data. Some common problems I will probably suffer when using NoLogging operations. I will see block corruption due to NoLogging that happened in this. Recover problems because I can log in data or not recording in the read log files. Consequently, they are not existent in the archive logs. I can see excessive log switches on bulk transactions when in logging mode. I can see log file parallel write wait events, log file sync wait events, and so on. Another common error they're going to see, let me just ensure that everybody is in the they have a standby database, and then for ABC reason you need to fail over to your standby database and you try to access or read blocks that were marked up corrupt because they suffered no login operations on the primary, will be the error that you see on your screen. And what's worse, they generally happen in the worst time of the day your life, when you're sleeping, deeply sleeping, and then you will need to give to your boss regarding your so high availability solution that you ensure they will solve and protect the company business and business continuity fell. And you need to give it the explanation of why that happened. How to repair no login change on a physical and logical standby. That's very easy to do. You can check many blogs that are available in the market. Here in the screen, you can see a small example. If you go to my blog, you can see details and a paper about this topic. They have a lot more information. That's why I'm going to skip this by the moment. You can also, when using flashback database with a target time and within a no login operation was made, a block corruption is likely to be producing database objects and data files affected by the no login operation. A tip for you is, if possible, avoid using flashback database with a target time or SCN. That no login operation. Also, always perform a full or incremental backup on the affected data files immediately after any location is done to ensure their recoverability to a given. If you expect to use a flashback database to return to a point in time during an operation, such as direct path insert, consider to perform the operation in login mode to ensure the recoverability of it. So basically, I know it was a lot of information, a lot of things going on. Once again, apologize for my voice. I haven't been sick for the past 2 weeks. And if you have any questions, please feel free to place. You can contact me anytime on my email, My personal email is mbatec@hotmail.com. On my Twitter, with @CO Munoz. You can also follow me and always letting everybody know about the latest Oracle World, free webinars that are happening, our initiatives around the globe for Oracle user groups. Saying that, looks like we have no questions up to this point. And thank you so much for your time. I know it's late in time for everyone. And have a fantastic evening. Bye, everyone.